If you're watching this video, you're probably wondering if you're in a friendship that is toxic. By the end of this video, you'll know 6 different signs to pay attention to as you reflect on your friendship. My name is Dr. Park. I'm a psychologist for youth, and here at Through the Waters, we nurture youth mental health. This video is going to be the flip side of a previous video I published called 6 Signs of a Healthy Friendship. So if you haven't checked that one out already, I'll link it in the description below. As I talk through these 6 signs of a toxic friendship in this video, maybe be thinking about whether the friendship you have in mind is in the green, yellow, or red zone with regard to each sign. Green would mean that the particular sign I'm talking about of toxicity is not present and things are okay with regard to your friendship. Yellow would mean maybe you have some caution about that sign in your friendship. Red would mean this sign is showing you there's a red flag here. So I'm going to talk through 6 signs, and the more red flags you notice, the more concerned you should probably be about the friendship. I'm not recommending that you jump to the immediate conclusion that you need to end the friendship, because that feels kind of impulsive to me, but the more red flags that you see, the more concern that you have, the more you really need to put this friendship under the microscope and decide what your next move is. And maybe that's leaning into the friendship, maybe that is holding steady in the friendship and maintaining, maybe that is stepping back a bit, or maybe that is ending the friendship. So let's get into these 6 signs of toxicity. One sign of a toxic friendship is that there's an imbalance in terms of knowing each other or even loving each other as friends. This might mean that your friend is very known and loved by you, but you don't feel very known and loved by them. Or the opposite could be true, that you feel very known and loved by your friend, but your friend isn't very known and loved by you. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity to really get to know them and love them. This relates back to the ideas of mutuality and reciprocity that I've mentioned before in previous videos. It's never going to be 50-50 in any human relationships, but in general, there should be room for both people in a friendship to be known and loved. And by the way, I'm talking about a friendship as between 2 people, but certainly in a group of friends, we hope that we can be known and we can be loved, right? A second sign of a toxic friendship is that there's been a loss of trust. Let's imagine that trust starts at 0, and over time, we slowly start to share more and more of ourselves with a person, and we pay attention to how they respond. If they respond in a trustworthy way, that builds trust between us in small ways over time. However, if they broke trust by spilling our secrets or backstabbing or betraying us or not keeping their word or not showing up when they said that they would, that can lead to a loss of trust, which is a danger zone in a friendship. A third sign of a toxic friendship is a lack of safety and vulnerability. If we don't feel safe around someone, we usually don't feel like we can be vulnerable with them. If you don't feel safe with a friend, pay attention to what comes up for you around that. Is there something specific happening in your body, for example? Is it specific to this one friend, or is it a pattern in your own life that you need to look at? If it's specific to one friend and you don't experience it in other friendships, that is a warning sign about this one friendship potentially being toxic. A fourth sign of a toxic friendship is that there's only room in the friendship for positive emotions, or there's only room in the friendship for negative emotions. Now, emotions are just emotions and we don't really need to label or judge them, but I'm using that language of positive and negative to make a general point about friendship. Some friendships have only enough room for happiness, excitement, smiling, laughing, partying, and so on. Some friendships only have room for misery loves company, meaning sadness, depression, anxiety, anger, drama, and so on. If your friendship only has room for positive emotions or only has room for negative emotions, question why that might be the case. It's possible that this is a friend that you decide to only share certain parts of yourself with, and sometimes that does realistically happen in friendships. We might make a choice that this is a friend who's really going to be there with us walking through the valleys of life, or this is a friend who's really going to be there with us on those mountaintop happy experiences that can be just kind of realistic. However, if your friend has a hard time joining you by being happy for you when you're happy, or being compassionate toward you when you're sad, that might be a warning sign of a toxic friendship that you might want to take a look at. By the way, if you're finding this video valuable so far, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. There are two main reasons for that. One is that you won't miss out on our future mental health tips and education because you'll be notified if you like and subscribe. And two is that when you do that, it also helps YouTube share this video more broadly with people who could benefit from it. Okay, so a fifth sign of a toxic friendship is that you have some gut level discomfort about the boundaries of the friendship, even if you can't quite articulate why. These boundaries could relate to time, energy, availability, resources, physical closeness, emotional closeness, or the things we say yes and no to. If you have concerns about boundaries, the first step is to try to assertively make clear what boundaries you are comfortable with. If your friend doesn't respect what you've made clear, for example, if they don't take no for an answer, that is a sign of toxicity. A sixth and final sign of a toxic friendship is that there's an imbalance in terms of space, power, and control. Again, between two human people, for example, this is never going to be 50-50. So that's an unrealistic expectation to expect 50-50. But if there's so much of an imbalance that it gets to the point where one person is dominating in terms of physical space or emotional space or conversational space or decision making in a friendship, that can be a sign of a toxic friendship. So there you have it. Those are 6 signs of a toxic friendship that occurred to me as I was creating this video based on my conversations with people about friendships over the years. I'm sure that there are other signs of a toxic friendship I haven't thought about or mentioned in this video. So if you have another sign that you've experienced or that you try to keep an eye out for, please share that in the comments so that we can all be learning from each other.